Okay, M7ZA in an Acura. They are wanting to rebuild 10 millimeters on most all the peripheral stuff, speed sensors, shift solenoid, dipstick. The speed sensors are the same, but I do mark them for where they came out of. You got tubes that go underneath the linear solenoid. I mark my pressure sensors also, so I know where they came out of. These two happen to be black. They do have stepped and non-stepped. These are both stepped. This is fairly common right here to have these broken. Somebody that's new, this guy that pulled this one out, this is the first Honda I think that he's pulled out, and pretty common for him to break it, forget to unhook that wire. So we're going to need this pressure sensor here. That is second gear pressure sensor. Alright, 10 millimeters on the end cover and 14 millimeters on the case. I think our compressor went down. Well, we lost our air compressor, so be back when we get it back. wrong bolt out. $12mm on this one. Okay, there are several places around here that you can get a hammer, tap up on your cover. Okay, I just leave the tubes in here for right now. $12mm on this. Here's a pin, a washer, 2 bearings, and just pick your gear up and kind of move it back. It's probably going to fall forward, but you're going to hold it back here in a little bit. Bend this little tab up, and this is a 10mm here, and pull that all the way back. Pull out your park pawl pivot pin and spring. You spring your actuator, this little piece, bolt. Inch and 5/16. These are right hand, left hand. Both of these are left hand. Some of these models are not of this particular tranny. Some of these Hondas, this one is right handed. Okay, if you can't strike this straight with a hammer, then you're going to need to get the pullers. Otherwise you're going to mess up your threads. And then I get 2 heel bars underneath here and pull my gears up. An air hammer with a bit like that. Alright, you have flat bearing, barrel bearing, flat bearing here, and usually these are okay shape. I get a zip tie and zip tie this all together. It just makes it quicker when I get ready to put it back together. And I separate it so that when I put it in the cleaner, it cleans it. Alright, there's a couple areas around here, and pry the case up. Some of these can be mighty tight. The dowel pins get rusted in there, and it can make it very difficult to get these up. Trying not to hit this camera. Not having very good success. Okay, and check your bearings, especially the surface right here where this other bearing rides, and make sure everything's okay. There is a washer that fell out for the gear here. Set that off to the side. Bend this tab back. And 10mm on that. Pull your gear up. Check this right here where the slider goes. Make sure it's not chewed up. If it is, this gear and that slider will be bad. Make sure your fork looks okay. Zip tie all that together. gear, bearing, race, 2 barrel bearings, and flat bearing, and a sleeve. This bearing right here, if you're going to have a problem, is usually the bearing that's going to go bad. It'll take this gear out and it'll take that bearing in the case out. Yeah, barrel bearing, flat bearing, and a race. Pull our drum up. Get a pair of snap ring pliers and pull your snap ring off. Pull this keeper up. There's 2 half moon race keepers in there. You got a race bearing, barrel bearing, and another flat bearing. Usually this is all okay. The only other problem area you might have is the bushings that are down in here, and I'll show you how to do that when we rebuild it. Pull that drum up. Look at this bearing here, these sealing rings. Usually all this is okay. You got another flat bearing, cage bearing, barrel bearing, whatever you want to call it. Another flat bearing, and the race. Counter shaft, you can leave all this together. Just check all your surfaces here. Usually this is all okay. The other problem areas in these are these bearings for the differential. Just pay close attention to them. And the races. Sometimes it'll show up on the races before it shows up on the bearing. Also check this cross pin in your diff. Make sure it's okay and your spider gears are okay. Okay, that all looks okay. Now, pull the valve body off. It's all 12s until you get to these all 10s until you get to those 3 12s. Okay, all this is going to be in good shape until you get down to the pump gears, is where you need to check. Got dowel pins on each level. Okay, you have a spring and a check ball right there. You got a check valve and spring right here. And okay, this one does not have a check ball down here. Okay. You want to check your pocket right in here, and especially right up in here. And usually you can see the wear. Sometimes you got to put the gear back in, and with your pivot pin, put your pivot pin in and check your clearance here. I believe it's like 3/1000ths you're allowed. Okay, big problem areas are these end plugs tend to leak. So if you want to do all of them, you're going to need like 2.5 kits. If you just want to do the primary ones, you can get by with 1 kit. And Sonex makes those end plugs. So we're going to need a LS kit, filter, end plug kit, second gear pressure switch, torque converter. Check your clutches here. Usually not much to see. You can see if it's burnt. Every one of these is going to need at least the bottom steel where the cushion plate will eat into it. So plan on that. There's only one drum that won't be eaten into, and it's because it doesn't take a cushion plate. See, it's eaten into there. Actually, I should have marked this. I mark one of these so it makes it easier to identify and put it back together when I go back together with it. See, it's eat into. And I should have steels here, so I shouldn't have to order them, but if you're gonna do it, you need to. It'll smooth out your shifts a little bit. And let's get this last one here. You can see there's no cushion plate on it. So it doesn't get eaten into. Okay. Alright. We will be back when we get the rebuild.